Now things have escalated far beyond the limit. You've gone exactly one step too far. They will never forgive you for raising the retirement age to 70, and yet insiders now confirm the inevitable. It will come even if they tell you otherwise again. No one intends to build a wall in Germany. The VAT for the hospitality industry will never be raised again. You will never be asked to pay to save the welfare state. That was the biggest lie of this coalition, and I tell you, this time they've simply gone too far. If you want to support this channel, I would really appreciate a like and a subscription. We're going to take a look at this, and I have to honestly tell you, it makes me sick to my stomach, even though I'm not really affected by it yet.
The Greens are now saying that this is an unreasonable burden for families during this time. Thumbs up for that.
And then we can't treat this as taboo, but in the end, we have to cut government spending now.
Why aren't we saving on the 1.378 billion euros for the renovation of the Chancellery and Bellevue Palace? Then at least you would already have 1.378 billion. But what they've come up with now, what has been pushed through by the commissions, will destroy these parties, the CDU and also the SPD. And I really mean to raze them to the ground. Telling today's generation of voters that, yes, retirement at 70 will come, not based on average age, not on years of employment, but simply at 70. First, that would completely destroy trust. And they will never get a foothold again. I promise you that. Because, as Norbert Blum once said to us, pensions are safe. Nothing will shake that foundation. Now nothing is safe anymore. And at the same time, billions and billions are being thrown out the window for a climate ideology, which, as we learned yesterday, is no longer sustainable. Just yesterday again in the Bundestag. The end of the world is cancelled. Climate wasn't that bad after all. And yet they stick to their sanctions, holding this country completely hostage. The voters won't forgive them for that this time.
Now there are these proposals from the experts about pensions, so retirement at 70, a decreasing pension level. Those are traditionally toxic proposals for the SPD's soul.
Also for the CDU, absolutely toxic, this pension approach that's being discussed. Of course, they immediately reacted yesterday. Frey immediately told Welt, no, retirement at 70 will definitely not happen. We rule that out. Just like back then, when they said we won't take on massive debt or things like that.
I'm really putting this in ambitious terms, but I believe in it, and I wouldn't be standing here if I didn't truly believe it myself. If we achieve this, dear friends, then the party in Germany can once again reach up to 40% in nationwide elections.
According to the latest polls, it's at almost 20%. So, Mr. Merz, you're really sharp there. You've basically cut the CDU in half. Guys, if you really want to do something for retirement, I'll give you a tip. Yeah, and then we'll get right back to the video. Me, for example, Cinetech, an absolutely fantastic company. Why? They specialize in drones, but not in military drones or giant drones. No, quantum computing. Quantum computing together with agriculture, and let's be honest, at some point this disaster will end, and by then they'll be really well positioned. Why? Well, because agriculture is part of what they do. Sure, all of this is still reproducing itself because of global tensions, but at the latest, when all this chaos ends, then they'll be at the point where they can use agricultural drones, for example, to isolate sick plants. And everyone who has ever been a gardener or something like that knows how bad sick plants are when they're among healthy ones. And that's why I have to say, hey, super cool area, Cinetech, you should definitely check it out. Put it in your portfolio, not an investment. None of it is. Wait until the tensions are over, then this thing will probably go north. They're also involved in quantum computing at the same time. Well, I would say that what's really the future is a retirement plan, at least in my opinion. So, Don't take this as investment advice and just go and buy them for €1, maybe 100 shares, maybe 200 shares, maybe someday it'll be at 1,100. Then I can cash them out, and honestly, I have to say, then I really did something. So I think Zenitech is a really awesome company. This isn't an advertisement or anything like that. For example, I bought them through my Revolut portfolio. You can use Sparkasse, Volksbank, whatever, you can put them in there.
This reform really has explosive potential, of course. It's bold, I really have to say. The Commission has shown more courage here than the CDU-SPD coalition has so far. But of course, such a recommendation still has real explosive potential. It can really divide the country.
Spalten? Divide? Are you serious? Divide? No. I'll explain this to you very briefly. If this is implemented, retirement at 70, then you can count on it. And yes, election polls from ARD and ZDF have just been published. But we also know from the elections that they are very far off. No, retirement at 70 will mean that with a bit of luck or bad luck, however you want to look at it, the pension will settle somewhere around 42 or 43% nationwide. And at the same time, as opposition parties, there will be the Greens and also the left, who will then be the opposition here in Germany, with, well, roughly, I think, a combined share of around 30 or 32% of the votes. That's how it will happen, because trust would then be so badly damaged here in Germany. That even the children of older CDU and SPD voters will influence them so much that the elderly people definitely won't vote for CDU and SPD anymore. Right now, of course, there is a lot of influence in nursing homes where the nurses or the elder care workers are having a strong impact. We all know I don't need to explain social service jobs to you, but at the latest, with retirement at 70, the craftsman will go to his grandma and explain to her that they are destroying this country, that they are ruining everything and leaving nothing but scorched earth for the grandchildren. And at the latest then, yes, that's when you'll have the grandmas to the point that at the next election, they won't, as some would maliciously claim, use the absentee ballots. They won't fill them out for the Greens or for the SPD or even for the left. No, that would lead to a global disaster here for the SPD and CDU. I learned even earlier when I was still working at the bank, pensions, keep your hands off them. Anything that has to do with pension funds, anything that has to do with retirees, and above all, anything that has to do with speculating with pensions, keep your hands off it. You're better off working with fossil fuels, you're better off working with crypto, you're better off working with whatever else, but keep your hands off Germany's pension system.
And then I believe I can cut the AfD and its voters in half. It's possible, ladies and gentlemen.
Of the 22% in today's polls who would still vote for the CDU, about 11% are conservative voters. The others are on the left wing. It's really very divided by now. By the way, you can now find this data at INSA, who have just released the core voter base. If the AfD can gain another 11% on top of almost 30%, well, then let's make it a round number at 40%. The only thing he has halved as of today is his own party. And we don't even know, what will be left of it at all. But at the time he said that the AfD had, I think, 10%. That was in 2018, maybe 15%. If he wanted to bring the CDU down to 7%, then of course he just mixed up the words. And that's definitely a logical scenario if the retirement age is raised to 70, and with that, really everyone, and I mean really everyone, will be driven away. Because at the latest, if the company owner now says yes, but you have to vote for the CDU, that would mean so much chaos and dilemma in the companies that people would even lose trust in their own boss. Because he basically wants people to work even longer. And at the same time, you know that when you get old, well, you'll end up back on the job market anyway, even if a severance payment is made. So I'm telling you, this is the total chaos that's going to hit the CDU and SPD. And this chain reaction that's there, it will continue all the way through to the European elections. And at the latest, when the EPP under the CDU suffers so many losses from Germany, that's when the grassroots will really get angry. So retirement at 70 will definitely not happen.